Hey viewers, you're watching the Savera and I'm Vidhi Joshi. A day after US President Donald Trump warned of steep tariffs on Canada, Prime Minister Mark Carney said that Ottawa has no plans to pursue a free trade agreement with China, rejecting all the claims that his government is moving closer to Beijing amid rising global trade tensions. Well, Mark Carney's comments came after Donald Trump threatened to impose 100% tariffs on Canadian goods if Ottawa entered into a free trade deal with China. Speaking on Sunday, the Canadian Prime Minister clarified that recent engagement with Beijing was limited to resolving specific trade disputes and did not signal a broader shift in Canada's trade policy or strategic alignment. We have commitments under CUSMA not to pursue free trade agreements with non-market economies without prior notification. We have no intention of doing that with China or any other non-market economy, Carney said, referring to the Canada-United States-Mexico agreement. He added that Canada remains fully bound by its obligations under the pact, which requires consultation with Washington and Mexico City before pursuing such agreements. And according to Carney, Canada's recent understanding with China focused on correcting trade imbalances that developed over the past 2 years following escalating tariff disputes. He stressed that the arrangement was designed in order to stabilize trade flows and protect Canadian exporters rather than open the domestic market in order to unrestricted Chinese imports. Donald Trump delivered his warning through a series of posts on Truth Social platform, accusing Beijing of undermining Canada's economy and cautioning Ottawa against becoming a gateway for Chinese goods entering the US market. China will eat Canada alive, completely devour it, including the destruction of their businesses, social fabric, and general way of life, Donald Trump wrote, claiming that Canada was systematically destroying itself through its engagement with China. While Donald Trump later appeared to soften his tone towards Ottawa, his rhetoric against China intensified. And in subsequent posts, he said that China was successfully and completely taking over Canada and described the China deal as one of the worst deals of any kind in history, while insisting that he wanted Canada to survive and thrive. Well, the dispute follows a period of tit-for-tat trade measures between Canada and China, and in 2024, Ottawa mirrored Washington by imposing a 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles and 25% tariffs on steel and aluminium. Beijing retaliated with steep duties on Canadian exports, including canola oil, pork, and seafood, increasing pressure on Canadian farmers and exporters. Well, earlier this month, during a visit to China, Canada adjusted its position by reducing the 100% tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles in exchange for lower Chinese tariffs on Canadian agricultural products. Carney said that the revised arrangement introduced a capped system allowing an initial annual quota of 49,000 Chinese electric vehicles at a 6.1% tariffs, rising to around 70,000 vehicles over the period of 5 years. He noted that the cap represents about 3% of Canada's annual vehicle sales and said that China is expected to begin investing in Canada's auto sector within 3 years. The Donald Trump administration has voiced concern that Canada could become a conduit for Chinese goods entering the US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent echoed these concerns, warning that Washington could impose 100% tariffs if Canada pursued a free trade agreement with China and accusing Carney of virtue signaling to globalist friends at Davos. The trade dispute has unfolded alongside growing tensions between Donald Trump and Mark Carney, including disagreements over US pressure on allies and Donald Trump's repeated push to acquire Greenland. Mark Carney, positioning himself as a leading voice among middle powers, has argued that smaller and mid-sized nations must cooperate in order to resist coercion by larger states. And despite the escalating rhetoric, he has reiterated that Canada's approach remains pragmatic, rules-based, and firmly within its existing trade commitments. That's all for now. Stay tuned to the Savera for more updates. Do like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.